Welcome to our today's presentation of curriculum development and innovations. I'm still your instructor, Kisembo. We have come to talk about Unit 5. Our previous unit was about models of curriculum, and we interested ourselves in the various models that exist or various architectural plans that exist. Now this morning we come to interest ourselves in Unit 5, which is about the process of curriculum development. Very, very key and very, very important in informing us of how to go about the curriculum process and how to go about our teaching and how to go about our supervision and implementation of educational programs. In the first instance, it is a process. It does not just happen from the blue. It has to be better. It becomes a better and a well-implemented aspect when it is taken as a process. And therefore, why do we have to have this as a process? We need to have a curriculum that is well implemented, well managed, and that is systematically organized, such that we do not have we do not have emergencies when it comes to curriculum implementation and say, hey, we remember it is UNEB time and we did not set exams. No, that would be a shame to us as curriculum implementers and managers and as the educational managers. Why do we have to plan this particular process? One, you realize that the community has changing needs. And so the planning helps us to meet these changing needs. And therefore, we have to go into the planning and consider the changing needs that exist in the community. And so our planning should cater and take care of those particular needs. We need to also detect the weaknesses that exist in the previous system. For example, why are we having this curriculum implemented? What has been the problem? And therefore, where can we now put things right when it comes to that planning? And then we also need to accommodate changes. If there are changes, yes, in the other lecture we said we were having previously the post office. But now we are no longer sending letters. It is through mails and eventually now WhatsApp and eventually through other educational avenues. Now, for example, we now have e-learning, which is coming in the world of education. Now, how are we accommodating e-learning in our curriculum? Will our curriculum be taught physical or by online mode of learning? So all these have to come into play and therefore make a very well and an executive curriculum package which should be given to this learner who comes to our educational institutions. We also need to meet the market demands. You realize that previously somebody finishes senior 4 when they already have an appointment. Our grandparents or our parents will tell us that when they finished primary 6, they already became head teachers. But that does not become the case in our present world today, where when an advert runs for one position of somebody who has a bachelor's degree, 4,000 or more will apply for the same job. So we have to meet these needs, work world needs. For example, Hima Cement Factory, a cement factory which started as Uganda Cement Industries Limited, UCI, managed by the Republic of Uganda. Yes, that time it used to use manual workers, but presently machines are operated by computers. And so as we design curriculum, we must therefore have computer learning in all the programs, because whoever is going out, maybe selling in a supermarket, they will need the knowledge of computer. The medical workers, they will need computer. Engineers will need computer. And even teachers will need the knowledge of computer. And so when we evaluate the process, we now include in these aspects that have come to demand and especially that are hitting the market world. And therefore, when we have that as a planned process, we now come up with a concrete package which this learner goes out of school or which this learner goes out of education with. And so now we interest ourselves today with the processes, that the steps that need to inform each other when it comes to compiling the curriculum development process. Just as I said, it is a process. It has to start somewhere, and it has to reach somewhere where we can evaluate it. And it has to reach somewhere where it can have, room for improvement. And so that process is what we are interested in studying for this particular lecture. One, the steps that are involved, we are not saying, well, it is a must. Well, you realize that there could be some stages where we need to merge the steps. But the steps that we have to know and bear in mind are: 1, conduct feasibility studies. 2, analyze the data that has been collected. 3, formulate aims and objectives. 4, generate a content. And 5, try out or pilot. And then 6, you can now implement on a large scale. And then eventually, you can now assess the product of your curriculum process. So let's begin with the number 1, where we are saying we need to do feasibility studies. Feasibility means you are seeing how can we do it? Can it work? If we talk about thematic curriculum, if we talk about the competence-based curriculum, if we talk about the skill-based curriculum, what is it? What are the needs of the community? For example, Fort Portal city is surrounded by several mountains. Fort Portal city is surrounded by several lakes. Fort Portal city is surrounded by several fertile soils. What therefore should be our curriculum? We need to include tourism. We need to include farming. We need to include mining and geological studies. These meet the needs of the community. What do the communities need? Yes, we should not have to produce graduates who are qualified in what they are not going to implement, in what they are not going to do. They should qualify in what exactly they will be doing based on the needs of the what? Of the community. Yes, how many doctors does the community need? How many engineers does the community need? How many lawyers does the community need? How many drivers does the community need? Who should we produce? More teachers, more engineers, more doctors? And so this informs us of what basically the community is interested in, and therefore where we should put our emphasis. Now these feasibility studies are very, very important. And at some times they are not taken care of. Somebody goes to South Korea and copies the curriculum there without having to carry out a feasibility study of whether this would work in our country, or whether these are the same community needs, and so somebody says everyone must learn via online. Now, question number 1. Did you ask how many learners have computers? Yes, whereas it is a very good aspect of teaching in South Korea where everyone has a computer, it may not be the best way of teaching where only 1 out of 10 learners have a computer. And so we need to look at now the feasibility. When we conduct feasibility studies, we now find out the needs, community needs, and when we now have these community needs, they inform us in what we should include in the curriculum and what we should be delivering to their learners. Number 2, we need to analyze clearly what comes out of the feasibility study. And we make meaning out of this that comes out of the feasibility studies. And after we have made meaning of this, then we can now go ahead and say these are the aims and objectives of our curriculum. If we have the competence-based curriculum, yes, these are the needs. If we have a thematic curriculum, yes, these are the needs. And then we now generate what? Objectives, and say by the end of the senior 4 training, a learner should be able to grow 5 plants of tomatoes. He should be able to stake tomatoes. He should be able to grow half an acre of maybe a banana plantation. Such that we do not have products who are not able to implement what they have studied. It will be a surprise for us to have a NADS coordinator who does not implement what he's telling the farmers. We need to have the NADS coordinator setting for us a model. We need to have a teacher who will be a model to the community. And so these will inform us as curriculum managers and curriculum implementers. Now, after that, we now organize the content. What will they learn in year 1, in year 2, in year 3? Of course, year 1 should inform year 3. Year 3 should inform the second stage. And therefore, this content now becomes the learning experiences that these learners will go through. And after we have the content, we can now try out or pretest or piloting the curriculum. After we have piloted, for example, in Uganda, we have about 3,000 public schools. We could pilot in 2. And when we pilot in 10, 20, and see what happens. Now, after we have piloted and said, now during the pilot, we are remodifying. Where we find issues, we modify and put them right. Where we find things are not working to our expectation, we put them right. And after we have done the pilot, we have done the polishing, now we can launch the curriculum and call it now the implementation and overhaul of the whole implementation process. We need not jump the pretest phase because it informs us of what will be exactly happening in the implementation process after we have seen weaknesses and strengths and then we have put things right. Well, I would love to interest you into a clear study and a clear investigation in whether the competence-based curriculum in Uganda was first piloted. In our next presentation, you submit your, your opinion and your findings of whether our CBC was evaluated. Whether the CBC was pretested. Now, after the implementation process, we now need to evaluate what these learners have been in class from primary 1 to primary 4. What have they achieved? These learners have been in class from primary 4 to primary 7. What have they become? What value has the learning experiences added them? Are they better? Yes. When we go out to the community, we must be better and value added. Now, the evaluation should look at how much and what value has been added to this learner. This learner went to school when he did not know how to greet. When he comes to the village, what does he do? Does he greet community members? Does he relate well with all? And therefore, can he help us as a community to live in a better way? And so this evaluation informs us of what exactly this learner has been able to achieve. After the evaluation, now we can do a review. And that becomes the process. That begins another process altogether. We evaluate, and then now we can do a review and say, no, since we had 10 subjects, with all of them being compulsory, no, let us have now 8 compulsory ones, and learners can be able to choose from among the others, the 2. So those reviews now come to inform the process that will be now unfolding into the other curriculum cycle. So that's what basically we are trying to mention in the curriculum development process. We are saying, number 1, conduct a feasibility study. After you have known what the community needs and what the community resources are, you now analyze and then generate the objectives of what education should be. And after you have generated the objectives, you can derive content, pilot your curriculum, implement your curriculum, and then evaluate what value the learner has achieved from the learning experiences. Thank you so much. In the next lesson, we will interest ourselves in now how to select objectives and which objectives should become part of our curriculum process. Thank you.